look. Hey, 1 second, folks. Let me get this dashboard up. Where do I go? Oh, manage stream. Okay, there we go. I am still learning all this. This goes over here. This goes here. Let's check my bit rate. It's probably okay. All right. We're going to give some folks a few minutes to trickle in. If someone could give me a heads up that they could actually hear me, that would be sweet. Oh. Sweet. Welcome. I kind of like this because I just like do my workday and then like randomly for an hour I turn on a camera. Although I don't know if everyone else hates it because I have like no set presentation for anything. I just have like, this is the thing that I'm working on. Do you want to talk about it with me? Which I don't know if that's a good idea or not. We'll see. We'll see if this is a terrible idea. Cool. We can get started as folks roll in. So this is our third live stream public office hours. I'm Chris. I work at the Wikimedia Foundation as the director of machine learning. I run the machine learning team. What the goal of this hour is that every single week I spend an hour of my day and I just live stream what I'm working on, and we can chat. And so like I last week I was sort of figuring out how we wanted to do model cards. And I was like looking through and taking notes on how to do model cards and some examples of them. And someone in chat threw up a PDF by Gebru and Mitchell and others about like how to do it and like how their thoughts on it. And it was super useful. So this is literally just me working on stuff, which I appreciate as like one of the cool things about the foundation, the Wikimedia Foundation, is the fact that we are incredibly transparent. And so, you know, you can watch everything that we do, including me working. So, you know, if you want to sit back with your coffee and just have me in the background, that's totally fine. If you want to ask questions or throw in comments, I will try to get to, you know, every single one. But other than that, I'm gonna just talk through and work. For this one, for this hour, the thing that I am exploring is data labeling. So we run, our community and us trains a series of models. And a lot of those models use training data that's created by the community. That's sort of like the thing that we do really well. And so how do you get data from the community? We have some specialized tools, and I'm kind of exploring another one called Label Studio. And one of the makers of Label Studio actually reached out and wanted to chat and that kind of stuff. So I think it's an interesting idea, but I'll just kind of walk through it and sort of see where my thinkings are. So for starters, the dream goal for gathering data, this is just a totally random article here. The dream goal would be that labeling of data or data annotation, which is the gathering of training data or the gathering of model evaluation data by a human, that we would actually integrate that into Wikipedia itself. And that was actually pioneered by pioneered by a project of someone who used to work on my team called Aaron Halfaker. He really sort of started this approach of like, how do we think about changing the UI of Wikipedia in a way that like we can actually gather training data, and the goal is that if it was embedded in the page or like embedded in the thing that you're labeling, you would get like a constant stream of data from people, And that would mean that you could do continual retrainings, like say every night you retrain it with like, the last like 60 days of data or something like that. And so that would mean that you would combat something that we deal with a lot, which is around the idea of like model drift. So model drift is the idea that you train a model and then, user behavior changes and features change and just stuff changes and the model just naturally becomes less, accurate, or whatever your quality metric is, less performant over time. And, this is something that we've run into because some of our training data that we've used is like from 2017 and that kind of stuff. And so the gold standard we want to get to is actually integrating it into the, imagine you could say like a button that was somewhere on this page. And that would mean that, say 0.5% of users would receive a button when they visited this page, and it would say like, hey, is this article, like good or bad or anything like that. That's where we want to get to. We're pretty far from that because it involves, like, there's lots of different moving pieces around that type of thing. Like, we want to involve the people on our staff who do, like, the other department that sort of works on front-end stuff. We want to work with translation, internationalization team. We want to, like, work with the communities to make sure that, like, they, they agree with these changes that we're making. Like, there's just, like, a big, like, that's, like, a big effort. Which is cool, and we're totally going to go down that road for certain. In the meantime, one of the things that we have been wanting to do is taking a look at tools where instead of actually changing the layout of Wikipedia to train model data, we instead had like a separate tool where someone could come in and volunteer their time to, say, label a bunch of stuff for us. That's like there's just like a number, like that's obviously worse because it's sort of outside the typical workflow of a Wikipedian, because it would be like a separate website basically. It's not doing continual, like it doesn't allow continual retraining and all that kind of stuff. What it does provide is it's just a lot faster to gather training data. So if you wanted to like kick off a model, you could probably get it a little bit faster. What we do currently for that is what we call Wikilabels. And let me bring up this. So this is Wikilabels. I love Wikilabels. This is our labeling page. This is actually the page that someone would come in and label something on. There's so many great points to this that like I just want to point them out. So this is a homegrown tool created by the foundation. This is, mostly it's only for like a few models. Like it's not a generic labeling tool. It is like only for specific type of models. So in instance, this would be models, two models. One would be trying to predict if a edit was damaging or not damaging, or that edit was made in good faith or bad faith, right? And so like, is this edit like makes things worse? And is this person trying to like manipulate things? There's so many cool parts to this. So for example, one, like just the layout, so you can see it's very obvious like what the diff is or what the change is in the page. So it has the page name that you can click and link over if you sort of want to read the whole page. You can actually load that like individual diff. It follows the Wikipedia format for things like really easily, which is cool. Like it's like a natural flow for things. It has like follow the same structure. It has the licensing information, which is super important to me, that when people are providing labeling data for us, like we know what that licensing, like they know what the licensing information they're doing when they do it. It has explanations of like how things work. Like it's simple and straightforward. So you could say, hey, I'm not going to, I mean, whatever, I guess I could train this because I won't submit it anywhere, but I could say, hey, this is like not damaging and this is a good faith edit, right? And here's the edit that they're throwing in. And then I could save, and then we'll go to the next one, and then there's like another one over and over again. That is super cool. That's really awesome. The problem that we're starting to run into is that there's cases of, say, like labeling images and that kind of stuff. And we were, sorry, David, question. So kind of like a mechanical Turk thing. Yeah, along those lines of using humans to work through stuff. It's one of the things that's kind of a bummer with Wikilabels, and I don't even think sort of maybe switching over to a different tool would actually solve this, but it is a bummer of like, if you contribute, like say you change a spelling error or something like that in Wikipedia, you get, oh no, this isn't, sorry, let me go, I'll do a turn. One of the things I've been wanting to do is that we do everything publicly, so you could see all this stuff. Like I will throw all this stuff over for you. You could jump in and like take a look at it all without any kind of like problem. You can do whatever you want. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin and Andy are on my team for this one, so you can throw in links. But I'm trying to throw the links in here, and I'm also trying to read the questions so in the recording you can see it. But like one of the things that I would love to do, and is that like if you make a spelling error, or if someone makes a spelling error on Wikipedia and you correct it, you actually get like an edit for that, like a participation point, and that's like a nice recognition of your contribution, right? So if you spend like hours making hundreds of contributions to Wikipedia, like that's recorded and you get kind of points for. You don't get that if you're in a separate system, like spending hours and hours and hours like labeling training data, which is a bummer, frankly. Like, and I don't have a solution for that, but it is a bummer. But yeah, it's like unpaid Mechanical Turk would be the way that I would put it. But this is how we've been training our stuff so far, and I mean it's been super successful. Where I was going with this is that there is an issue of like, well, if we wanted to say like provide annotation on an image or an audio file or something like that, like we wanted to label that kind of stuff, this thing would have to be, wiki labels would have to be really rebuilt from scratch. And you know, both Kevin and Andy, who were sort of central in building this stuff, would probably be, you know, having a panic attack if we had to go and do that. So then the question became, well, what if we go and look at some other open source tools that have been made later on, you know, like over the course of like more recently, and maybe we can find an open source project that actually does that for us, and, you know, like maybe adopt it or maybe take a look at it or that kind of stuff. And so one of the ones that I think either Kevin or Andy on my team ended up looking at is Label Studio. Label Studio. And so Label Studio is an open source data labeling tool. This is not an endorsement. I am still figuring out everything about Label Studio. This is literally me trying to figure it out. But one of the things that actually really interests me about Label Studio is that it's an open source project and it has a wide variety of possible labels. So, for example, say we want something, what would be something that would be really close to the wiki label usage? Maybe something like text classification, right? So let me make this bigger for folks so you can actually take a look at it here. In something like this, like, okay, so here's the text. What do you think it is? Oh, I think it's positive, right? Like that kind of, it's able to do that, which is, you know, that's very, very, very similar to what we ask people to do in our wiki labels. But then you can also do things that are like completely different than that. So for example, drawing a picture around the airplane. Like this is how, you know, this is what an airplane looks like. Here's me attempting to draw an airplane around the image. Like that opens up the possibility of us having one tool for labeling that we're using in lots of different formats. There's also some pretty crazy ones in here, like emotion segmentation. Like you can like basically like you can say like, oh, this part is about trust and this part is about sadness. Like you can actually label like audio files. It provides this like huge range for how we do labelings, which means when members of the community or other teams came to us and said, hey, we want to have an article, or sorry, we want to have you create a model for us that actually does, you know, prediction on some of these audio files that we have on Wikimedia Commons. Like what's the tool that we would use? I mean, this is a really kind of promising tool. Are YouTube links for later views? Yeah, I will post this to our YouTube page, which I think is youtube.com/WikimediaML. And I just uploaded up straight. So looking at this, I mean, you know, this is a super interesting idea. one of the things that Kevin jumped on is how do we actually deploy this and make it that it's really easy for, say, us to deploy it or, say, a community member to deploy it. What's the sort of lift for having this kind of system? And one of the interesting tools that we have at the foundation is ToolForge. So ToolForge is like our version of Heroku. So it is a public space where people can come and run applications around Wikipedia and sort of have a place that's hosted to do that. So a lot of bots on Wikipedia are actually hosted on ToolForge as sort of like a hosting instance, and you can set up an instance for it and muck around and change things and ask for help. It's like our version of it. It is super cool. And so one of the things that happened is I was like, hey, Kevin, can we figure out how to host Label Studio on our system? And then Kevin was like, oh, we should go for ToolForge. And I was like, there's no way you're going to get this thing onto ToolForge because it's probably a little bit more complex. And then Kevin was like, forget you, I'm going to figure out how to do it. And so and this is a public Fabricator ticket, so I can actually paste this in here too. Kevin went to the mat and figured out how to do it, and here's all the exact instructions about how to post it all, get it all in there, which is so interesting because that means that both we can end up deploying on ToolForge, like set up a Label Studio instance really quickly, or members of the community can kind of do that. The thing that I haven't done in this whole process is actually like go through and like take a look at Label Studio and try to run it, right? I've used the playground, I've tinkered around with this and that kind of stuff, but I've never actually like done something with it. So this is my local ToolForge instance. I believe this is the one on Docker, the Docker one. But I just wanted to like kind of muck around with it and kind of experiment with it. Is it just me, or this? Is it just me? But your sound and audio are too small. Let me see if I can actually. I could probably increase it. Oh, let me pull it up. Does that work better? Is that a little bit louder? Hopefully. Listen, I'm not the greatest streamer in this here. Douglas, let me know. So for this, I have not gone very far. So let me just figure this one out. Label Studio, you have projects and people. What are people? Oh, this is my account. The password is admin if you're on my local computer. What is going on here? Okay, so the API, that's local documentation. Here's a project. I can start a project. What is add? Account and settings. Okay, cool. I can create a project. Description, data input. What's the format for it? What format does this sucker need to be in? Here, I'll make it bigger so folks can see it. Or not. Drag and drop files to click and browse. Do I just drag and drop like an image, like a random image or something like that? Let me try. Let me see if this works. Let me grab an image, and then I will see if I can drag and drop an image. Because we're dog fooding here, I'm going to Wikimedia Commons and grab an image. Would that just? Well, what if I wanted lots of images, right? How does that work? Okay, here's an image of a bald eagle, apparently, which is the picture of the day. Save image to pictures. Can I just drag it in? I don't think that's supposed to happen like that. Right? Okay, maybe an image is too complicated for the first one. Why? You can also add images via URLs in a JSON. Okay. Now I understand. Okay, so like that's what they want you to do. Let me set up something super simple. Okay. I got a plan here. Here is, let me grab a piece of text, and then I'm going to dump it in, and then we're going to try to label it. Okay, here's a piece of text. I'm going to save it. Okay, here we go. Upload file. Test data. This is my text. You can't see it, but it's just a poem. This is not a great testing tool here. Treat as a CSV, TSV, a list of tasks, or a time series. Oh, interesting. Oh, because if it was like a time series, every single row. So this is a text file. So they're like, if you uploaded like a log, do you want to treat it as like every single row is a thing to be classified, or is sets of rows the thing that you want to classify? Okay, cool. All right. List of tasks. Sure. Let's do upload additional files. Okay. Labeling setup. Whoa. Oh, text classification. Sure, we're gonna use the ones I have, positive or negative or something like that. Cool. Wow, this is pretty sweet. This UI is like kind of nice. All right, sure. Did it work? Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the poem. You can see to be or not to be. That is the question. Blah 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 blah. How do I label? What's grid? Oh, okay. Label? Oh, you can filter. Oh, there's fields. Oh, so you can like basically turn off fields if something you wanted. Okay, cool. To be or to be not to question. That's positive. What are these numbers? Oh, that's clever. Okay, cool. So you can like actually, I'm hitting the keyboard right now rather than my keys. So like this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So hopefully you go fast. How do you do the keyboard for moving fast? Command enter. Like that? Oh, wow, that's clever. Okay. So you could do 1 command enter, 2 command enter. Okay, cool. I mean, this is pretty sweet. Okay. I'm gonna label stuff really quick here. I think there's like 5 rows or something, or like 10 rows or something, so this shouldn't take long. No more data for labeling. Okay. Where do I go here? Did I label something? Annotated by. Can multiple people label something? Yeah, right? Okay. So let's just imagine I've labeled this and I'm feeling pretty good about it. How do I get it out of here? Nope. Export. Sorry, I'm dumb. We are gonna do a CSV. Export. Save. That's pretty cool. That's super interesting. I think, like the question that comes to mind like with this is like, how do you change Label Studio where you get the ability to do labeling around, say like images or that kind of stuff, but then you take in all this additional context information that we want as the foundation. So like, like the licensing information, obviously you could probably just change the page, but like this kind of stuff where you're treating it like a diff, how would you like maybe you create like a custom template or something like that? Because I saw in the Label Studio there was like templates for things, and so maybe you create like a custom template that's like tagging Wikipedia stuff. Oh, that's probably how you do it, right? You would end up deciding that like, okay, we want a Wikipedia text labeling template, and then you would create that template. Does that allow you to change the UI? No? Yes? I don't know. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think if we were going to deploy it, we'd have to do some work on the front end part to make it sort of match this a little bit more, because what I don't want to do is like move off of Wikilabels, which has its own set of issues around like like usability and that kind of stuff. But I I don't want to lose something where like, hey, you're looking at a diff. Here's this diff. It's all like beautifully labeled and like beautifully like structured for folks. But I do want that. I do want that wide, like the ability of like doing a wide breadth of data. You know, and the other thing that sort of comes up is like one of the things that we have thought about with Wiki Labels and I guess now with Label Studio is like, if we worked on something like this and we committed to ourselves that we were going to put out a version of this that worked out for us, how could we integrate that learning in sort of something where that would be the end goal, which would be to change the UI of Wikipedia a little bit to allow people to do that. So you can imagine, like say these damaging or not damaging or good faith, bad faith models, like actually like somewhere in the revision page for a small subset of users. I think there's like a lot of advantage there. But how would you do? Yeah. Okay. So that would mean that if I was going down, sorry, I'm just like I have like all these different tabs open. So if I did this simple one, which is this project I created, what are the settings I could do? Like, can I change the UI? No, right? Like I can change the labels, but I can't actually like add additional information. Like, because what I kind of want is like, so here's a preview of the UI. Here, what I kind of want would be like additional context above and below this one, right? So like you'd have like the 5 sentences before it, and then this sentence that we're labeling, and then 5 sentences afterwards, and then like a link to the Wikipedia article, which is what we have in Wiki Labels, right? So if someone could say, hey, here's the change, here's some additional lines above and below it for context around the change, here's actually like a link to like the full diff of the edit so you can actually see it for real, and you can just read the whole article, where Label Studio has like a much more restrictive user interface where like it doesn't have that context information. I wonder if it even has like I wonder if without massive changes you would have the ability to add that context information, or you'd need to like really kind of rip open the hood and change a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I mean that definitely would be an issue, because I know one of the other uses that actually we're building a tool for separately, but one of the uses would be one where we do where we're going to do like image classification around stuff, but it's not just the image. It's actually like we provide in the current sort of pilot that I saw, like we provided the actual image, but then we also provided like all this additional information that we had from like Wikidata and stuff like that, like like when it was uploaded, what the metadata was around the image, like all this kind of additional information to allow someone to kind of like, it was like a very specific type of image classification, so we didn't use like ImageNet or something like that, but like how do we have that like person come in with that additional context? But I don't see an ability in Label Studio to like get that context, or like put that context in there. Oh god, that's not good. I'm breaking things. Oh god, oh no, things are breaking for me. Do they talk about that anywhere, about like putting context around stuff? No, I don't think. Okay, I might reach out to them and say, hey, is that a thing? And if it's not something, it's definitely something that we could add and contribute to the project. One of the things that definitely the foundation is big about is contributing to open source projects, since we are the ones that reap the benefit from so many open source projects. So if there was something around the idea of like adding context around the label in the UI, that would be something I think would be interesting to work on. Okay. I mean, I think the next step for me would be to reach out to them. And I kind of think I'm stuck until I have that, because that's, in my mind, that's sort of like the last. Like, if it doesn't have that, it's going to be significantly worse than Wiki Labels. So, okay, cool. Does anybody have any questions in the last 30 minutes of this thing? I mean, I don't want to like push through this thing if really I kind of have like a set question of like, can I add context around these labels? Otherwise, you can all watch me move on to my next task. Can you retrieve information from MediaWiki APIs and display it in that tool? Do you mean, if you mean wiki labels, yeah. If you mean Label Studio, I think that's sort of like, that's my question. Is like, would I have the ability in Label Studio out of the box, or I'd have to build it, of having additional information above and below the image or around that could provide context for someone that's doing the labeling? And we'd have to pull that from the API, right? Because what you would do is you'd say like, hey, this image, here's the URL for this image. Like, I use the API to pull the metadata based on that image ID, and then I like display it into that page. Yeah, I mean, I just like, maybe there's a reasoning behind not providing context that I don't know. Like, labeling is slower because there's just like a lot of extra information on the page. But I feel like for our use case, I'd really want that context information in there. Otherwise, I just think it would be significantly worse. I think the scores would be, or I think the labels would be more prone to error. Okay. That's by the text. Okay, cool. Whoa. Why is this? Okay, sure. Cool. Any questions, comments from me? Otherwise, we can move on to my next thing. Let me take a look here. Yeah, they have like this like machine learning part of it that I don't really understand. Do they have their own pipeline? Maybe not. So organizations, projects, export. I mean, it's cool. It's super cool. I think my local one died. I don't know. It's there. Let me take a look at these templates again. Labeling setup. Ooh, custom template. Can I change anything with this? Okay. Your labeling configuration empty. It's required to browse your labels starting from preserved. Is that like a custom template on the page? Okay, let me try this one. Let me go back and give this one a chance. Pairwise classification. Okay. So this kind of classification, we'll make the page a little bigger, would be like, I assume, taking these two ones and then you sort of select one or the other, right? So like hot dog, not hot dog. View, header, pairwise. Can I just, let's just try this. Can I just do this and like throw in extra text in here? Label config contains non-unique names. Okay. Oh, you want me to put text3 here. And then, hello. Oh, wait. Wait, what? Now it lets me label between the three? Oh, no, it doesn't let me label between the three. Can I throw it out of the view? Nope. Definitely can't. Definitely can't. Okay. I think I need to talk to them. Yeah, what is happening here? Things are going all over the place here. So I can't click this hello world one, even though I put it in here, because it's pairwise. But that would mean that I can't just like arbitrary dump text in here, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let me go over to my next thing, which was over here. One second while I figure this sucker out. Nope, that's not the right browser here. Throw this one in this browser. New label, put that in here like that. Machine learning, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, there's a thing in here. So if we were going to fit this into our roadmap of building a labeling tool, so let me just point this out. So at the foundation, our ticketing system is called Fabricator, or uses Fabricator, and it's public. So this is our equivalent to Jira. Literally right before this, I was going through with the team all these different tickets and sort of deciding what we're going to work on and what we're going to not. And one of the ones was trying to like figure out like do we need to build this? Like, do we need to spend the resources on this now, or can we do it later on? Because we have, we have wiki labels already. And so for those kind of models, I think we're okay. But I guess, like, if we came up to a project, and there are projects coming up, but like say suddenly, someone came over and was like, Chris, we need to, put out this model and it requires labeling images or something like that. How much resources would we want to put into like making this sucker work? I don't think it would need to be its own service. I think we could host it on ToolForge, which would be cool. I think Kevin's instructions are great. But I do think that if we were going to do it, let me think. This has now become like the Chris thinking stream. I don't think we should spend time on this until we sort of like really know, like really have a specific use case for it. And maybe like getting just good enough to like be able to make changes to it and sort of working through the questions of say like that context question and that kind of stuff. But then after that, just have that in our back pocket, right? So like we just continue to use wiki labels for stuff that are relevant to these kind of models. And then when we want to go do something else, we can kind of like if a different case came up, then we can spin up Label Studio. Is there any kind of like licensing information on this thing? Hardtext. I think this is run by I should probably just join the community and ask questions to the community. Hardtext is a company, I assume, right? Blog. Okay. What kind of open source are you? Label Studio. What is this machine learning setup part? Is there set up machine learning with labeling process by setting up machine learning backend? Machine learning backend for Label Studio. Okay. That is different than what we've been doing. Pre-labeling by letting models predict labels, then perform further manual revisions. Okay. Auto-labeling, letting models automatically create annotations. Oh, right. So this would be like a model feeds into another model. Like you have a model that does something that feeds into a model that provides the labels for the next model. Okay, cool. Online learning, active learning. Okay, cool. With these capabilities, you can use wiki labels, a backend service. Okay. The Label Studio backend is an SDK, a software development kit that you can wrap around your machine learning code and turn it into a web server. Then you can connect that server to Label Studio to perform two tasks: dynamically pre-annotate database model inference results. Okay. Retrain. Okay, so this is sort of like almost like an ML flow, or part of an ML flow system or something like that. Okay. Sure. I'm assuming this is the one that, yeah, okay. So it's a startup. They have a for-profit product. This is their for-profit enterprise product. And then they have the open source project that's based on. Okay, cool. I understand that. What is tags? Editor configuration is based on XML-like tags. Tags can be divided into 3 categories. What? Oh, so this is the template kind of tags, right? So this is like, wow, I made that really big. Object tags, control tags. Okay, so this would be like, I have an image and I want to put a rating on it. And non-interactive, header and views. Could I put the text in the header? No? Yes? Well, I guess I'll figure it out. Create new project, labeling setup. What was the one that we were doing? We were doing natural language processing. I think, no, we were doing, shoot, which was the one we were doing? Okay, we'll do text classification. Moving over, so this is this page we were done before. The UI is, here's the thing that we're labeling. Here's the prompt. Here's the labels. Can I throw text like above it? No, okay, didn't like that. It's weird that it's wrapped in this, like, in this border, because to me it looks like there's 2 labels. Like, because you, okay. So, like, okay, I guess the idea, I mean, I can, like, I see the path to this working. Would be something like, so you have context, 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 and then you'd have to make this second block like different in some way to like distinguish it, right? So like this is all the context above it. This is the actual edit. This is the context below it. I'm assuming we can add context below it. Like that. Oh, okay, cool. Look at this. Okay, cool. So they have style in here. They're throwing in CSS for the style. Okay. Sorry. This. Oh, this is totally gonna work. This is totally gonna work. Okay, cool. Let me think about this. I'm going to remember CSS on the fly. Okay, so we're going to throw a style tag in here. It's going to be called border. God. Failed to parse border. Are they not using CSS? They're using like some kind of their own separate one. Why is this not doing what I want? I mean, you can like see it though. You can see what I'm trying to do, which is like context above it, the label, context below. And then if we change the like presentation, like the style of this, it would work because it would match what I'm trying to get to, which is this. You can see like the orange and the highlighting and that kind of stuff. But it's more simplistic. Ha. It wouldn't be as good though. Oh, am I missing the style attribute? Is that what it was? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Throw that one in there. Yeah. Get rid of, oh my God, this is like, it's weird to code in this one long line. Okay, so we have a text box on the bottom. We have the style attribute. We're doing border shadow. I'm going to just try border. Let's try something simple. No? Oh, wait. No? Oh, wait. I'm missing the second quotation mark, aren't I? Okay, cool. 1-1? No? 3-3? Border color? Maybe border like that? I mean, I feel like this is solvable, right? Like if you could throw in that style in there and muck with stuff. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this over now that you have all. Yeah. Oh God. It's like not. It's not hitting it. It's not working. But I mean that you could totally see how this would work. That like we could build something that was pretty close to this, in Label Studio, which means that we could have one tool for doing all of our labeling. This is just so much better though. It's like this sounds like everything I want. But I can see it though. I can see how to do it. Right now Kevin, who's spent a lot of time as a friend in dev, is like, Chris is an idiot. He's doing all this wrong. But that's okay. Mr. Synergy says this thing really needs to talk to the MediaWiki API or the database directly on ToolForge. You can get fully formatted diffs and pretty much everything else from there. Yeah, I agree. I think that's and I know this thing, like, I know it won't let me hit an API point from this template view. And I think if it isn't, yeah, I think you're totally right. And that would just open up a huge amount of possibility for stuff. Which, like this to me is like a very simplistic way of putting it. There's nothing compared to what we have this. And this is like, Wikilabels is like a fully customized tool for a very specific purpose. So like, that's why, but I totally understand that. But you can kind of see, okay, cool. Let me take a look at the licensing with someone linked in here. Okay, cool. Throw in an Apache license. Nice. That's cool. Okay, cool. I mean, we could totally, Apache 2.0. We could totally work with that one. Oh, that's so cool that GitHub does this now. I have not seen this. Oh, that's so sweet. They actually throw like all this extra information in here for you. I wonder if this is formatted, or that's totally random, but I wonder if this is formatted or like they just know it. Cool. Sweet. Yeah, no, we could totally run with this. Actually, let me go take a look at the code since I can. Okay. Label Studio 1.0. I mean, that's just cool. Like, that's just a really neat, I'm just looking at this image right here. That's a really nice stuff. I wonder if they have any examples of context, like additional context above or below or something like that in this thing. I don't see it though. It looks like you're like super focused on, like, the only thing you get is that labeling text. There's just so much use here. I could see so much good stuff. Yeah. Okay, that one doesn't have it either. No. Yep, Docker. That's what I was using. Run with Docker Compose. Deploy to a cloud instance. It's unrelated to me. What you get from Label Studio: multi-user labeling, sign in and login. Yep. You create the animation. You create an annotation. When you create an annotation, it's tied to your account. Does that mean you're the only person that can access it? I hope not. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, that's the only question I have. Hey, Nick. Is this like a tool for having members of the public labeling something, or is it literally a tool for just you to label your? There's no way it's just for you, right? You should have like multiple projects. Like, okay, let me go. That's another thing I need to go look at. Because like my ideal is like for example with Wikilabels is like you can actually come here. I'm just pasting in the URL. Like, you can come here and like, this is our Wikilabels page. It is open and accessible to folks. You can click start labeling. You can say, hey, for English Wikipedia, and this requires like a little bit of it, but like you can sort of request a worksheet. So you could say, and this is why I think this is like the highest UX bar for people is like this kind of stuff. But you could totally imagine something where like we've streamlined this, and no task for that one. And like it's easy for the public to just come in and like label some stuff. if Label Studio sort of requires you to create an account, stores the data like with your account, so like I couldn't actually see if you labeled something. You'd have to take my template, load it into Label Studio as a project, label it, and send it to me. I mean, I think that's like a harder bar. I mean, that's like a way harder bar. Oh, okay. Huh. The Label Studio people like reached out, so I mean, I can see it. Like I could see there's a path here, but I definitely have questions around. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where this tab is. Where the heck is the GitHub tab? Oh, there it is. Because I would want something that would be as accessible to the public as possible, right? And so like even if you needed to create an account or something, I mean that's not as great as I would want, but I would want like a CSV, say like the outputs would be like a CSV or a JSON or something that would be like, we had 100 people labeling, here are 100 people labeling these different ones, and there's overlap between the 100 people, so like 2 or 3 people end up labeling each bicycle or something like that. And so you could sort of see, like, you can kind of try to arbitrate between those through like voting or something like that for some of them. That's harder to do with images, obviously, but configure your label formats, support multiple data types, cloud storage, embedded in your pipeline with a REST API, integration with machine learning models. Okay, so this is their sort of like machine learning backend part. I mean, so like just looking at this without talking to them, so like they're probably, you know, if they're watching this and they're like, God, Chris is an idiot, but like if looking at this, the value between something like Label Studio is just the huge variety of data that you could throw labels on, which is super cool. Like this is just a bunch of freaking labels for things. I can't even make that window smaller. Whoops. Like this is just a bunch of everything from like audio files to video files, or audio files to image files, and like that kind of stuff. That's super cool. I would need to know, one, the context part, like is there an ability to add context to the thing that you're labeling, hitting the API and that kind of stuff, as Mr. Synergy mentioned. And also, like, what is my ability to host a public web page where someone can go and label stuff without creating an account, without, you know, like setting up their own project. Like it was ready for other people to come and like, you know, spend a few minutes helping out. Because that's what, I mean, that is like the pivotal feature of Wikipedia, is that there's folks who come in and spend thousands of hours a year doing amazing work and like keeping all these communities open and that kind of stuff. And then there's other folks who come in and like, you know, make a quick change or something like that. Actually, I think you actually saw that in some of these ones, right? Like I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't see who made this change, but like just small things, sometimes big things. And I don't think it's valuable to us to have something like Label Studio, like, or have something like you need to create an account on our version of Label Studio, because my vision for it was actually that we're using ToolForge and that we're sort of spinning up an instance of Label Studio that's specific to the labeling campaign that we're doing. And we say, hey, if you want to come help us out, here's this website URL, and we'd send that URL to like the community that we're targeting or something like that, like, or like some community members, and saying like, hey, we talked to these community members, like they said that like they want to help us out on this kind of stuff, and they're letting other people know about it. And then they come to that URL and then they do that labeling. They do that labeling with us, and then we kind of shut down the whole thing. But if you needed to create an account and stuff like that, that would be less interesting. I mean, that'd be like a barrier to participation. And if your labels only sat on your own computer, that'd be barriers to participation. Okay, let me try to do something here. How would I set up... Oh, we have like 5 minutes left. How would I set up a project? Oh, okay. How would I set up a project with multiple people? Invited people have private accounts. They can register and join to the organization using this link. Let's go see. Private window. Sorry, I think it's because I'm logged in on something. Yeah, so they'd have to like sign in. They'd have to create an account. So if I signed up admin2 at admin.net, don't look at my password, which is admin. They would also see that project. Okay, so this is how you get people in. Mr. Synergy says, maybe one can log in with the Wikipedia account via OAuth, plenty of other tools. Oh, that is an interesting idea. So for context, Wikipedia uses like OAuth and that kind of stuff, so allow people to log into all the different wikis and that kind of stuff. If we could integrate, you're right though, if we integrated that with OAuth, that means that people could actually log in using their Wikipedia account. Right, they could log in with their Wikipedia account, which, you know, like is a barrier, but like frankly, like that's a pretty low barrier if you're participating in Wikipedia. You don't need an account to edit, but like a lot of people who make edits and participate and stuff obviously have an account. Okay, yeah, you're right about that. We'd have to change it out to OAuth and that kind of stuff, which shouldn't be too crazy. But you're right though. I don't think it would be fair to ask people to like create a Label Studio account for something that we're then going to like tear down. Like, hey, give us your password and your login and create this whole separate thing. And then we're just going to tear it down in a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, we would want to do the OAuth or nothing, but I think the OAuth would probably work. Okay. All right, we only have 3 minutes left. I don't want to bore anybody with my more ramblings with it, but I think the next step for me is going to be to talk to the Label Studio folks and ask them about context, ask them about login, ask them about the API, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens from there. But I think it has so many parts of it that I really love. And if we can sort of work out that other ones, I think it would just be a sweet tool. But it's definitely reaching a high bar with this with Wikilabel, so it would have to meet it. Any other final questions from folks before I close this down and continue with my workday? Lewis Plays Bass got the Twitch notification late, but those last 5 minutes were really cool. How did the hour go? I think it went great. I think other people might have an opinion. I have fun with it. It's literally just my regular workday, except for an hour of it, I'm streaming it. Some other members of the team came in, some other volunteers came in, some other members of the foundation came in. So that was cool. That was cool to see. I think we pushed progress forward. Like, this is real work of like, okay, cool. I think I'm blocked until I talk to the Label Studio folks to see if like what's possible, what's not, this kind of thing. Like, even if we have our own developers. But I think it's there. Like, I think there's totally the possibility for using this tool. If not, and it's not, like, we'll keep on looking for another tool. But we need the ability to, like, changing Wikipedia is a big process, obviously. Setting up some instance over the side where we, on our own stuff where we can like have people come in and label is like 1,000 times faster, just simpler. And so for like certain projects, that's the tool that fits the bill. We would just need to overcome these kind of issues and then go from there. Thank you everyone for coming. I will upload this whole video will be saved on this Twitch page for 14 days. It'll also be on the YouTube page forever. Here's a link to the YouTube page. Thank you all for coming out. If you want to hear more of what the team is doing, you can come to our MediaWiki page right here. So this is our team page. We have a public chat. You can jump into IRC. You can jump into our like talk page where like we're all posting sort of updates all the time about what we're doing. Or you can jump into what most people do is actually just jump into our Fabricator board and, like comment, decide, play around, help us out with stuff, that kind of stuff. So thank you all for coming. Hopefully this was useful. Let me know, here on here on Twitter or over email if this is terrible and you think I should stop doing this. But I had fun. Awesome. Thank you all. Have a great day. Shoot. Every single time I do this, I don't know where the stop button is. Nope. Oh, wait. It's over here? Huh? Oh, there it is.